Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am doing a review quickly on the Arteza new skin tone and gray markers. However, the focus of this short video is more so going to be along the lines of how do you create a color chart so that you can put your colors in order. I like to put them in blendable order, not the order they come in or the order that is numerical. So in order to do that, you have to do a lot of swatching, but we'll get into that. So I'm going to show you real quick here. I got the skin tone and the Arteza in gray. I have to say that once I swatched them out and saw the numbers, I did compare them to the 120 set. So right here, I wrote down all the numbers. I pulled out my Arteza 120 set. I wanted to see which ones were duplicates because, of course, you don't want to be buying the same markers over and over again. So right here, I would ask you to pause the screen and I'll right here put it in the center, pause it. And this way you can see which ones that have a square around them. Those are the duplicates from your 120 set. I can also list them below, which I think would be helpful. So I'll do that. The top of this line are the gray set, and then the bottom are the skin tone. So as you can see, the skin tone is pretty much a new set of markers, which is great. I feel like that's one thing that the 120 set was missing, was more variety of flesh tone colors. And so that was really nice to see. There's a lot of duplicates in the gray set, but I was talking to a friend of mine and she made a great point. Courtney, she was saying of all the markers you're probably going to have to replace soonest, it's most likely going to be grays. So I think that was really on point too. So if you do buy the second gray set, to get a couple of the new ones, then you might find use with them. But just so you know, I wanted to make that point about which ones were duplicates. Okay, so now what have I done? I have swatched them out as they were in their little container. That's all I'm doing right now, is I'm putting them down on paper because I want to be able to compare and start putting them in the order where I think they'll work. The grays were very easy to do. Because grays are normally pretty easy to put into place, and B, because the 120 set I already had a swatch done. So the majority of them were already in place. But the skin tones, I had to go through my regular process of doing that. So again, first step, swatch them out, put a number by them. You want to make sure that you do that, because if you swatch them out and put the marker aside and don't write a number down, well, you're going to have some trouble. Ask me how I know. Okay, so I've done that. And the next thing I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to start putting them into some sort of order. So I want to recommend that you use the cardstock that you will color on the most, because that will give you the truest color. So now I'm going through and I am putting down my numbers onto the right hand, the new color chart, based on what my eye is telling me. So this is my next step, is my eye is telling me that these would go in order, the numbers I'm writing down. I'm going to write them down first and not swatch them out because I already have my swatch to the left. So easy enough, I can write them down. As I'm writing them down, I'm putting a check mark through them so that I can tell myself you already wrote that one down. And I can go back and see if I missed any. So you want to go through that process so that you can stay organized with what you're doing. Then I'm going to go back to my markers and I'm going to pull out my markers and I'm going to swatch them onto my cardstock underneath their corresponding number. Easy enough, right? As I'm going through this, I can start to see the numbers come together, the blends come together. Like, okay, yeah, this does make sense. And remember, I did this based on the naked eye, if you will, just kind of like looking at it, and I think that would work together. So this is only like, I think the grays, like I said, they were easy to do, so this might have been my final chart as I did it. The skin tones and other charts, like when I did the 120 set, oh my goodness, it took me hours because there's so many markers, and so I want to put them in the order in which I would use them to blend, so it's time consuming. Hopefully this helps, though, is kind of like the process of doing it. Okay, so now I'm moving on to skin tones, and now these are all over the place. When I pulled them out, the numbers don't mean anything, and when I pulled them out of the case, they were just in any kind of random order. There was no rhyme or reason to them. So when I'm starting my second portion of this color chart, it is challenging. Because I'm like, well, do I want to start with the lightest? Do I want to start with and plus they're all skin tone-ish, but then there's pink hues, orange hues, brown hues, tan. So it's like all over the place. So I'm taking you through the real struggle here. But I decided, okay, well, you got to start somewhere. So I'm taking a look at it and I'm figuring out which way I'm going to go. So I get into my color chart and I am basically doing the same exact thing. I actually didn't want to waste any more paper, so I just continued on underneath this skin tone one. And all I'm doing is looking at the color chart and starting to write down my numbers of what I think is going to go in order. So remember, that's the next step. And as I'm doing that, I should be making an X or a mark onto those colors that I have then move to the next place. Okay, that's what I should be doing. And I believe I am making a little X on there. Okay, so I'm going through again, doing the same thing, continuing on. Then I swatched them out. Now, I swatched them on the paper you just saw, and then I brought them over here to kind of tweak some of those colors. So it was okay on the swatch you just saw. This one was better, and now I'm finalizing. So how am I finalizing? I'm kind of taking one, because now things are in more order, so now I can kind of see much clearer if there's any that stand out as in the wrong place. So here I'm adding a couple numbers. I'm going to move these here. I'm going to move that over there, etc. And so it's so much easier to kind of compartmentalize the colors once you see them in front of your face like this. And that's why sometimes it takes a couple steps. And even when you're done, it's not perfect because maybe your markers aren't perfect. So if you have one of my color charts and you're like, Mary, I don't know what this color's doing there, it's probably an off color. So, or maybe I just made a mistake and you can rearrange it. So that's the beauty of it. Okay, let's see how they color up. So I'm not going to color this whole image. I am going to zoom in after I do this first color, but I'm going to start from our darkest to lightest skin tones. And I've chosen these three colors, and you can see I wrote them on the paper so you'll know which ones I'm blending with. But once you have your color chart in order, you're not necessarily you're just going to have fun practicing and blending because those colors are going to work together. That's the intent of that color chart, is you kind of take a look at it and pull out your colors and get to work. It is a little bit of time on the front end, depending on what you're swatching out, but I have swatched out almost all of my mediums as I get them. It is so worth the time. I can't even tell you, especially because I can put aside a budgeted amount of time to do a color chart because I know it's going to take a while. What I can't do is I can't always predict. If I didn't do a color chart, it's hard to predict when I sit down to color how long it's going to take me to scribble on the side of the paper next to me or figure out what colors I want to use. Like, that's unpredictable. Where I get the color chart done, takes me an hour or so, and then I move on, I'm coloring, we're quick, we're in it, we're doing it. And I enjoy the coloring process. I do not enjoy finding the colors to use for my process. So anyway, that's my recommendation for that. For my coloring here, I'm using this Picket Fence Studio stamp set here. I love this stamp set. It's just fun. It was a really nice image for the skin tones to be able to practice. There was enough space on her face to be able to do that. And so I'm starting with covering the face. Most of the time when I do alcohol marker coloring, I color the image with the lightest color first, and then I'll go back in with the darkest. The color, when you do that, you kind of saturate the paper and get it ready to blend better. And then I'll go back in and put the darkest color in where the shadows are, medium color, light color. So that's kind of the way that I do my coloring. So we're going to move on to the lightest skin tone now, so you can see me kind of covering the whole image. I am using Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock. I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink, and as you can see, I'm getting no bleeding. It's perfect, or no smearing with the ink rather. It's perfect. And I'm, again, sorry I didn't color up the whole image, but I wanted to just make sure that I was able to show some of those variances in the skin tones. Okay. Now I'm going to go back because I wanted to do another medium skin tone. I did so I wanted to get another variation of these 3 colors. And so, again, this is of the 3, the lightest color. I'm going to go in with the darkest of these 3. And look at the caps on the left-hand side. No one would ever probably know to put those 3 colors together. You look at them and that's not what you see. If you tried to blend your markers based on the caps, it would not be fun and you would struggle, I think, because I have. So again, another testimony as to why you should swatch out your marker set. So I'm trying to figure out a helpful way to share this chart with you, but the only way I know is email, and I'm just not able to respond as quickly right now with emails. So what I'll do is I'll list out the numbers in the description below in the order that I have them, and hopefully you can just make out your own chart and that will get you going. If you have any questions at all, please let me know below. I have done full reviews on the Arteza alcohol blend Everblend markers, so I'll link that as well so you can check those out at the end of this video and below. And until next time, hopefully this was helpful. Let me know, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.